let's do this. YouTube, I hope y'all in the house. YouTube, I hope y'all are in the house. So I'm ready to move in. I'm ready to move on. And I'm ready to get it started. Sarah, what's going on? Hold on, let me get over here, YouTube. Yes, yes, yes. UNA. Yeah. All right, so I want to go into the Anunnaki history. I had somebody to ask me about that, so I got time today. So I want to get into a little bit of the Anunnaki history and whatever questions y'all have that you want to ask, I want to answer them. Now, before I go into that, I want to just reference the books, all right? The UNA books. Now, I had somebody who said they didn't get the link for the ebook. I'm going to make sure we send that link out to you. Normally, once you pay, it takes you directly to the link, and then also it sends an email. I need y'all to make sure our emails, for whatever reason, go to the junk mail. Disappointing as it is, I need y'all to make sure you check your junk mail folders for your emails. If you are having problems getting our emails, send us an email at UNARepublic@amaxpro.com, okay? UNARepublic@amaxpro.com, so that you can make sure that you get our emails. Okay, so I'll make sure we get any links. You all can send us a message in the inbox for TikTok and YouTube. You all can send us a message if you're not getting any links, so we can make sure we get them to you. All right, now, here we go. This is the UNA Beginner Law Book. There's an ebook version. It's $19.99. You can get that when you go to UNARepublic.com, or you can find the link in the bio. All right, there's a link tree. This is $19.99. If you want to get the physical version, which is this version here, the physical version is $39.99. It comes with a laminated copy of the Hierarchy of Law chart, a laminated copy of the Universal Law chart, and a laminated copy of the Vibratory Frequency chart. All right, all of these are in the book, and this is the UNA Law book. All right, this is a very powerful book. And it has goes into contract writing, the importance of it, the importance of these documents, the importance of the vibratory frequency chart, along with the vibratory frequency chart in here. So this is a very powerful book. So y'all want to get this book. All right, you can go and find the link in the bio or find it on UNAUniversity.com. One more thing I want to go over with you all. Okay? UNA has a membership package. Now, once again, UNA is a nation of nations. When you come on to UNA, you will be a nation. All right? We have not been taught that we are nations all by ourselves. You're made up of many different spiritual entities. You are a nation. Now, when becoming a member of UNA, what we do is we create a trust between you and UNA. You are a sovereign entity. UNA is a sovereign entity, is a county. And so when you come on, we develop a declaration for you that is sealed. It'll have a gold seal on it. We develop a security agreement for you, as well as, this is our security agreement, and these are sealed, as well as a UCC financing statement, which is also sealed. All right. Now, this is a trust, and it also comes with a UNA allodial ID. All right. This has the barcode on it, whereby you will be able to get any of your trust documents, because they're going to be on public record with UNA, as well as you'll have a federal ID number or registered mail number. You'll get all that information. Also, it comes with a badge. We call it an exemption badge, and it has a QR code. And when scanned, this code shows that you are a standing member of UNA. All right. The importance of this package is that this is a trust, and we talk about trust so often and how powerful this document alone is. And this is going to help you get started so that when you decide, you can use this to put this on record, or you can start creating your own trust. All right, because in the UNA University, we actually show you how to create these documents. All right, so this is a trust package. Okay, once again, declaration, that's sealed. UCC, that's sealed. Security agreement, that is sealed. All right, the allodial ID with your spiritual name. So when you start learning how to walk in the private, this is what you want to have. You want to have your own allodial ID. Also, your exemption badge. This was very helpful to a lot of my people who had jobs that were trying to force them into getting vaccinated. When you are a member of UNA, UNA is considered a religious organization, even though we do not practice religion, but we have our laws that we talk about that deal with our God, whereby our God is saying we don't put things in our vessel. All right, you have to learn how to stand on that. But at any rate, when you're standing under a particular religious order, then your job has to back off. Anybody trying to force something on you, they have to back off. And so we enable you to come into the university to really learn how to put these documents to use for you. All right, let us get into it. We're talking about the Anunnaki. We're talking about the Anunnaki. Anunnaki. So I wanted to go back, and we're going to talk about one of the oldest known civilizations, which is called the Sumerian civilization. And this is where a lot of documentation comes from with respect to the Anunnaki and who they were. Now, when you look up the Sumerian, who the Sumerians were, the Sumerian civilization, this is what we know as Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia. That is what we know of as today. It's modern day Iraq. Okay, modern day Iraq. And in Iraq, there were all of these tablets that had not been translated. And they were the Sumerian tablets. And they're still saying to this day only 20% of those tablets had been translated with respect to what was going on. But when they were translating what was going on in Mesopotamia or Sumeria, what they were finding is that there were the humans there, the people there, who had these gods that they looked up to. All right, and they had temples. Today they're known as worship temples, but back then they were more like workship, where they went to work for the Anunnaki or these gods. All right, now in the Sumerian tablets, these gods are depicted as being very tall, very large. You know, if you do some research, you'll find that there were 18-foot, 21-foot beings that actually walked the planet. All right, and so the humans of the Sumerian civilization were ones who went to work for these Anunnaki. And I want to thank y'all for joining. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you all for sharing the video, the live as well. Now, glad you did the free version. All right, so now let's get into this. Getting back to it, you have the Sumerians who had these temples, and this is where the people would come to work for them. Now, I want to get into this is called the Book of Enki. If you haven't read this book, you know, some people try to say, oh, this is, you know, by one character who's known to write fiction. All right. But there were other people who translated the Sumerian text too, and they come up with the same findings, all right? That there were the Anunnaki, and the Anunnaki supposedly came from another planet. I want to talk about this other planet and why people will ask me, well, what happened? What do you think happened to the Anunnaki and why you think they left? And I'm letting you know, and as I've said before, I don't think they left at all. I think they're very much still here. When you go back and read the Sumerian translations in the text, and you start to recognize that some of the things that were going on back then are going on now. All right, so getting to the Anunnaki, we're going to go back to what their planet Nibiru supposedly looked like and what was going on in Nibiru. In Nibiru, according to some of the left out book, the translations rather that I read, and the Book of Enki that was created supposedly by Zachariah Stitchin. In those books, it talks about how on planet Nibiru they had issues with the atmosphere, that the sun was too much, and they were constantly trying to shoot up things into the sky to keep the sun from being too much or too much heat on the people. So they had an atmosphere issue, and they used gold to spray it up into the sky. All right. What they use gold in its anatomic state, meaning what we know of as gold today, where it's, it's a thick block or whatever, it's a metal. There's a way to take the metallic principles out of gold, and they call it anatomic gold. And so it looks like a thin white powder. Very, very powerful substance, this white powder. This monoatomic gold is what it is, rather. Monoatomic gold. Mono. So where they've taken all of the metallic properties out of it. All right, so this is what they were spraying up into the air in order to keep the sun from shining down and causing too much havoc on the people. All right, so the people were suffering, all right, because this wasn't working anymore. They weren't able to keep spraying this substance in the air. They ran out of gold. So there was all these fights on the planet. There was so much fighting to the point where the males started to become extinct on the planet. The male Anunnaki. All right, so what happened is, and I'm gonna talk about Anu and how Anu came into being. Somehow the king and queen were killed, or there wasn't an heir to the throne, because they had this whole heirship on Nibiru as well. So it didn't just start here on Nibiru, wherever this planet is. There was this whole order of royalty or royal blood, and that's who ruled in this place called Nibiru. All right, well, what ended up happening is there was no heir, and part of that had to do, once again, all of the fighting. There were no men. All right, so when the last ruler died, or actually there was a fight between this character, and I don't want to say the name because I'm going to mess the name up, but I'm going to say there's a fight between a character, and he killed the king. He killed the king because there was all of this stuff going on about, oh, we're dying. What are we going to do? How are we going to take it? So there was a fight. And then this character killed the king, and he took over the kingship. All right. And so when he did that, everybody accepted, okay, well, he's king. But then he said, okay, we're going to fix this whole mess. He wasn't able to fix it. All right. So it kept getting hotter. He wasn't able to fix it. And then, everybody started questioning him. Who is this guy who has come in and taken over kingship? He's not doing anything better than the other king. And he killed the king. So who is he? Then Anu, Anu is the nephew of the king that was killed. And he steps up. Anu steps up and says, okay, I have proof that I am royal blood and I'm the one who's supposed to be in there in the first place. I'm giving you the whole history of what this Book of Enki says about what was going on in Nibiru and why they ended up coming to planet Earth. All right. And I got a few minutes, so I'm going to go into this story. So what ends up happening is when when Anu stepped up and said, hey, that was my uncle, my great uncle, and I have proof because I come from this lineage, and then somebody else stepped up and said, yeah, you know what? He does. I'm going to vouch for him on that. Okay. So then it was this thing where the guy who was the king, he said, hey, and I'm going to call him, I'm just going to call him Aruba because it's something like that, Aruba. He says, listen, this is what we're going to do, Anu. Okay, so I'm going to continue to be king and you're going to be my apprentice. All right, I'm going to continue to be king. You're going to be my apprentice. And then when it's time for you to step up, then you can step up. So Anu went with this for a while. But the guy still was doing Aruba. I'm calling him Aruba. He was still doing all kind of things that were not, the people weren't happy with. All right. So the people were really trying to get rid of him. So what ended up happening is Anu stepped up. He said, listen, I'm going to take this over. I'm the rightful ruler right here. I'm supposed to be king. I'm going to go ahead and take this over. And Aruba was like, no, we're not going to do that because we agreed that you were going to stay my apprentice. And then he said, okay, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to fight for it. This is how they settled stuff. They fought for it. So Aruba, this guy who was the king who had killed the previous king, and Anu fought for the position of kingship. Now, does this remind you of that movie, Wakanda? It's kind of like that. Very much like that. Where there was royalty ruling over this particular area. And that's what it was. And whoever wants to take the kingship, they fight for it. Well, that's what happened in this case, according to the Book of Enki. So now they're fighting, and Anu pretty much kicks his butt, waxes him. And so Aruba decides, and I'm just calling him Aruba because I forget his real name. He decides, nah, okay, you know what? After so Anu really beat him down. I mean, he won, definitively. It wasn't a question about whether or not Anu was the better fighter. All right. So Aruba decides, I'm leaving. And he takes one of the ships and he loads it with several, what do we call it? Atomic nuclear bombs. Because they had the technology. They had the knowledge of how to create these type of things. So he loads the spaceship with these bombs. And he says, you know what? I'm ready to go to Earth. And I'm going to save this planet because I know that Earth is where the gold is. I'm going to say this again. He said, I'm ready to go to Earth. I'm going to save this planet because Earth is where the gold is. That's what they needed because they needed to keep shooting this substance into the sky. All right. And they would do it because really when Aruba, I don't know his real name, but when he came in and he started trying to fix this situation going on with the atmosphere, his idea was to shoot nuclear or atomic substances up into the sky to keep the sun from shining through. They needed to shield the sun from the planet. And so at any rate, he ended up coming on his ship with these nuclear bombs, Aruba did, to planet Earth according to the Book of Enki. And he came to planet Earth and he had to break through all of it. It talks about how he went past Mars and he went past all these other planets. And really, if you get a chance to read the Book of Enki, it's really a great story. It really is. And it's really telling about the planets that he went by and what his trek was in getting to the planet Earth. All right, he gets to planet Earth. It describes him as having a fish suit. When his ship landed, he was described as putting on a fish suit so that he can experience the atmosphere. All right, and so it talks about how he saw different beings, his first encounter with the snake, and how he killed the snake, and several other entities about what happened when he got to the planet. Then he starts searching for gold. He finds gold in the water. All right, but it wasn't enough, but he could tell, okay, this planet has gold. He found gold in the water because he could check the water to see what substances were in the water. All right, so so the guy, and again, I'm just calling him Aruba because his name is something similar to that. But the guy says when he lands, he's just really excited that he landed. And he's like, that's right, I'm going to save my planet. I'm going to save planet like I told them. I told them if they let me be king, I'm going to save the planet. So now he's on Earth, and he's finding that there is gold in the water, and there's gold on this planet. So he phones back to Nibiru. All right. Once again, this is after he just got beat by Anu. He phones back to Nibiru. And he calls back. He calls back, and he's like, he wants to speak to Anu. Now, I don't know how that phone system works. Okay, I don't know. But all I know is he's like, hey, Anu. Anu's like, Aruba? Yeah, Anu. I'm down here on planet Earth. On planet Earth, man, where you been? Where you just disappeared? We didn't know what happened to you. I'm on Earth like I told you. And I know where the gold is. I know how to find the gold. This is Aruba, whatever his name is, who had been beaten by Anu. And he's phoning back to Nibiru, telling them, I'm on planet Earth. I know where the gold is. I know how to get here to planet Earth. And Anu was like, now listen, this is Anu's whole take on it. Aruba calls, yeah, Anu. Aruba? Yeah, where you been? I took the ship. We were wondering what happened to you. And Anu was like this. Hey, y'all, it's Aruba. He said he down on planet Earth. So Aruba is saying to him, listen, I know where the gold is. If you want it, you got to come through me. And I want my position back as the king. And Anu was like, Aruba, I beat you fair and square with the kingship. So no, I'm the king now. No, you want to save the planet? I told you I would save the planet. I'm here now. If you want it, then you got to come through me. I want you to promise to give me my position back as king. All right. So Anu was like, look, where are you? You on Earth. How did you get there? And Aruba's like, look, I'm not telling you nothing until you promise to give me the kingship back. And it was like, look, listen, this is what we're gonna do. All right. We're gonna discuss this when we get down there. You tell us how you got to Earth, and when we get there, then we're gonna discuss giving you the kingship back. So Aruba was like, no, you can't, no, you're not coming, you just not gonna come down here. I don't trust you. I'm telling you, Aruba was like, look, I found this. And he did. According to the book of Enki, it was Aruba that found this place. And he was like, I don't trust you, Anu. And so Anu said, listen, this is what I'm going to do. All right. I'm going to send my son. All right. I'm going to send my son, Enki, because Enki is married to your daughter. So you trust him. He married your daughter. So I'm going to send Enki down there. And then Enki is going to come down there with a couple folks. They're going to check it out and see what we got. And then we'll talk about you being the king of Nibiru. Okay, we'll talk about that when they get down there. All right, so you can trust him. And he, he's my son. And then he's married to your daughter. And okay, so we cool. And then he's going to come down there. And then we're going to check it out. So this is when Enki, and you all know, Enki is accredited with creating the human race. Enki comes down to planet Earth and he checks it out. And this is when they talk about how they set up camp in 7 days. This is where you get your 7 days in the Bible. By the way, when you read the book of Enki, you're going to start to recognize the similarity between the Old Testament and the Bible and the book of Enki. And if you haven't read the left out books, take the opportunity to read one of my favorites, which is the book of Jasher, one of my favorite left out books. So you got now Enki has come to planet Earth, and Enki is checking out the different beings on the planet. Now remember, Enki is a scientist, and he is very good at molecular structure and putting things together, putting this being with this being and creating different animals. So when he gets to, and remember at this point also, planet Nibiru is in, or the beings there, the Anunnaki, are really desperate for a solution to their climate issue. They have a climate issue. It's too hot. They can't take it. That's why they keep shooting things up in the air to block the sun. Now, I don't understand, or let me rephrase this. Maybe you don't recognize it right now, but that's what's going on here. When y'all seeing all these streaks in the sky, where they're trying to form clouds to block the sun off, and be doing that. So I'm talking about the book I'm discussing right now, Book of Enki, which deals with who the Anunnaki were. The book of Jasher, I told you, is a left out book. Book of Jasher, Jasher. That's not a person's name. Jasher means upright, uprighteousness. Book of Jasher, that's what that means. All right, so you've got the Anunnaki or Enki who's down here, and he's checking out the different beings on the planet. And also because in his mind he's thinking, we got to get this gold, and we don't have a lot of time. They were desperate. So then what happens is, they start they set up camp in 7 days. And I said that about, checking out the Bible, because when you start talking about how God created the heaven and the earth in 7 days and the 7 days of the week, that was that according to the book of Enki. That was them coming down, and they're setting things up in 7 days, and then they rested. All right. So now this is Aruba. I'm calling him Aruba again, who had gotten to the planet first, and this was his finding. And because he had to tell the Anunnaki, he had to tell Enki how to get to the planet, because he had to go through a lot of things. And I'm going to say this to you. When you read the book of Enki, the Anunnaki in those stories, they talk about how there's certain things that they don't want to do because it brings back, and I'm going to call it karma. They didn't use the term karma, but one of the things, for example, that Aruba was doing when he was going from Nibiru to planet Earth, is he had to use one of those nuclear weapons to shoot off the asteroids to keep them from hitting his ship when he was flying through. And Enki talks about, Anu was saying, you used one of the nuclear weapons? Oh my goodness, you're going to have all kind of karma coming back on us. So we got to find a way so that when we come down there, we're not having to shoot off nuclear weapons, because when we do that, that brings back a lot of negative energy on us. Now, I'm just checking the time. So when they formulate the ship that Anu, or Enki rather, used to get down to the planet, and they use water instead of nuclear weapons. It's like, okay, we need to pack a lot of water because we're not going to be, shooting them with nuclear weapons. So that's one of the ways that they use to keep from having to do so much damage when they were traveling through the cosmos. Okay, so to get to the planet, they set up shop. And what ends up happening is they said, okay, we're going to get the gold, but we need to bring some teams down here. So this is when they brought in the Igigi. So the Igigi were like second-class citizens, almost slaves to the Anunnaki. And they never described the Igigi. And they kind of described the Anunnaki, but they really weren't doing, they didn't really, the book of Enki doesn't really describe what they looked like or who they were, but they were second-class citizens. So what they did was they wanted to, they needed the Igigi because the Igigi were like their slaves. All right, so they were kind of second-class citizens. They didn't call them slaves, but that's kind of what they were. They worked them very hard. So when they got to the planet, one of the issues was it was too hot. If the Nibiru was close to the planet, close to the sun rather, Earth was even worse for them. It was very hot, and they complained about the conditions, and they had the Igigi working, and the Igigi started to revolt. And it was like, remember, they are in a very desperate state. So the Igigi were at the point where they were like, look, we're not doing this work no more. And here you got Enki. Now, I need to go back. Before I get into that. Because before they brought the Igigi down and they brought all these other people down, because at this point it was like, okay, this Earth, planet Earth, this thing is serious. We need to do some work up in here. But Aruba was there. He was like, hey, hold up. First of all, I founded this place. This is my place. I found this place. All right, so I need some respect up in here first. And second, I am the king. I need to be reinstated as the king of Nibiru. Before nobody else needs to come down here until I get reinstated. So Anu was like, look, I'm coming down there. Okay, let's come. I'm gonna come down there. I want to check it out. So Anu comes down. This is before the Igigi got there and all that. Anu comes down, and Aruba was like, okay, so now you see the place. This is what I found. I found this place, and Aruba was like, so now at any rate, before anything else takes place on this planet, I need to be reinstated on Nibiru. And Anu was like, okay, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to just fight for it again. If you win, then good. If you don't win, then you don't get it back. So they fight. And Anu kicks his butt again. Anu kicks Aruba's butt. But this time Anu was... Now why? I'm going to tell you something. According to the book of Enki, they were fighting naked. They were fighting naked. I mean, maybe that's what they did. Maybe they didn't have clothing back then. Okay. So they were fighting naked. But Anu was standing over Aruba in victory, like, yeah, I won. And then some kind of way, Aruba bit Anu's penis off and swallowed it. That's what the book of Enki says happened with this fight. He bit his penis off and swallowed it. And of course this, Anu was hurt, and now it was deemed that Aruba needed to be put to death. So, but now let's remember, Aruba was actually a warrior, and Anu's son Enki was there, and a lot of people. Aruba had some followers still, even though he wasn't king anymore. He still had people who loved him and followed him. And the whole thought was, listen, we're going to just leave him on planet Mars. It's like, okay, look, this is what we're going to do. Because he needs to be he's going to die. Actually, he was going to die anyway. It's said that he's going to die because he swallowed the penis. And that's going to, for whatever reason, kill him. So they were like, well, since he's going to die anyway, what we're going to do, instead of just killing him here, we're going to take him up to Mars. And we're going to put him on Mars and just leave him there. That's what the story says happened. All right, so they was like, okay, look, we got to go back to Nibiru. We got to bring some people back down here anyway. So on the way back, we're going to leave them on Mars. And then we're going to set back off to Nibiru. All right, I'm telling you the story. Read the story. It's a great story. I love it. So they leave him on Mars, and they leave another guy there with him because he was like, look, I fought alongside this guy in many wars and many battles. Leave me here with Aruba on Mars, and then when y'all come back down here, coming back to Earth, just pick me up. All right. So they leave those two there, and he stays with Aruba until Aruba dies. And the other team goes off to Nibiru to pick up some folks. Who they were picking up? Ninmah, the sister, and Enlil, the brother. So Enki was still on planet Earth. Anu was going back to Nibiru, and who was gonna come back was Ninmah, the sister, and Enlil, the younger brother to Enki. This is Anu's. These two are Anu's children. And so, when they get back to Mars, the guy who was there with Aruba had died, but Ninmah brought him back to life because she had knowledge of how to resuscitate, and again, these beings have high knowledge concerning the molecular structure of the vessel and how to bring things back to life. So Ninmah ends up bringing him back to life, and then also they brought back with them the Igigi, and they would get ready to get to work, all right, on this planet Earth, and getting the gold and all of that, what have you. So now let me fast forward to what happened with the Igigi. The Igigi were actually, once the Igigi had started working, they revolted. And then here you have Enki, who was like, look, I've been looking at these beings on this planet, and I got this idea. This is what he said to Enki, to Enlil. So remember, we got Enki, which is the one who came to the planet first after Aruba, and then you got Enlil, the younger brother, and you got Ninmah. Now Enlil, real quick, Enlil was the one in charge. Why was he put in charge? All right, even though Enki was the oldest, he was put in charge because his mother, even though he was the youngest, and y'all find this, I think Hagar, this whole story went down with Hagar, where because he was born, Enki came from one of the concubine of Anu, whereas Enlil came from the wife of Anu. And I think this happened with Hagar, a story in the Bible with Hagar as well. But yeah, so because Enki, or Enlil, even though he was the younger son, he was the one who was put in charge of the goings on planet Earth, whereas Enki was the scientist. Now Enki says to Enlil, look, the Igigi are revolting, but I got this idea. I see these other beings on this planet. I can put some of our DNA with their DNA, and then we can teach them how to use these tools, and then we can get them to mine the gold for us so we don't have to do the work. And Enlil was very much against this whole idea because he was like, we can't create slaves because that's gonna come back on us. We create slaves, then we're gonna get the universal laws coming down on us. All right. And so Enki was like, no, listen, I got this idea. It's not gonna be that they slaves, they just gonna do work for us. These beings, they're just gonna do the work. So we're gonna just put a little bit of our DNA, and then we're gonna take this animal, and then we're gonna put them together, splice them together, and then they can do the work for us. This is where the humans supposedly came into play, and why they came into play, because the gold needed to be mined so that it can be taken back to Nibiru to save that planet. Now, I want y'all to understand what is one of the biggest commodities on this planet today, and it is gold. And I don't know if y'all have noticed, especially those of you all in what we know as North America, it has been stolen. It has disappeared. When they took all the gold from the people, and supposedly it was in the bank, and now nobody knows where the gold is today. The way they were getting the gold off the planet is they did an alchemic process whereby they would take all of the metallic substances rather out of this gold, and it would become monoatomic gold. Y'all look up monoatomic gold. This substance is a fine white powder. It's that kind of powder, like if you have a pan and you put the monoatomic gold in the pan becomes lighter with the monoatomic gold than it was without the monoatomic gold. Monoatomic gold, in the Bible, that's what they called manna. That's what Moses was feeding to the Israelites when they made that golden calf. He melted it down into an alchemic process whereby you remove all of the metallic principles. And when you eat this monoatomic gold, it has the ability to restructure your cells, your DNA. All right? Restructure. Enhance your DNA. So what you're seeing now, this is why I say, I don't think they left. And when they if they did what the Book of Enki is saying they did, what the older left out books are saying that they did, and put DNA in these vessels, then they can't leave, even if they wanted to, because they are forever within us. All right, that's another story dealing with molecular structure and understanding the whole deal that goes on with molecular structure. But they can't just leave. If they put DNA in these vessels, then we are them and they are us. And the other thing is, there's some hiding going on. There's some people behind the scenes, some beings behind the scenes. And when you look at what's going on in society, when you look at what people are fighting for, you look at one of the biggest principles behind what's going on, gold. They the real money is silver and gold. Well, not really, but okay, that's what they're telling you. And they're getting the gold, and it's disappeared. Look at what's going on with the sky and how they're constantly spraying the sky, constantly trying to mask the sun off. Okay, look at how the fighting is between this territory and that territory. And when you read the Book of Enki, you'll understand how the different lands were divided up into territories after the Great Flood. All right, so there are a lot of similarities when you read these ancient books, the left out books, and you start comparing them. Then you see why I say I don't think they ever left. I think they're still here. I think they're still in hiding. All right, I gotta go. I love y'all. We're gonna be back on YouTube. Send a message so that you can become a member and also get the book. They're coming in this week. All right, they're coming in this week and going out. YouTube, I hope y'all are in the house. So I'm ready to move in. I'm ready to move on.